All right.
My name's Matthew Deck. Some of you guys probably remember me speaking before. I think it's kind of interesting, almost like by providence, that he spoke upon the hemp and what the possibilities of what it's capable of doing to transform this nation into that which is going to be by far more profitable at a lesser medical expense than that which they are doing through prescription drugs. Tonight, in particular, I'm going to speak of one called Risperdal that they've been passing out and making billions of dollars on. Now, this is a very interesting drug because it was an antipsychotic that was supposed to be designed primarily for those who suffer from schizophrenia and are prone to violent outbursts of aggression. Well, as it turns out, they began to prescribe it unto everybody for everything from depression to sleep aid. And as a result thereof, it is found that it is spreading diabetes type 2, creating hepatitis C, causing men's chromosomes within them to mutate to the point they begin to grow breasts and seep liquid from their nipples. Women are suffering the very same thing. Now, I never really even heard of any of this stuff right here until this one young girl that I know who happens to be incarcerated for possession of drug paraphernalia. This girl turned around and had a problem with heroin. I see a very, very disturbing trend with the courts in Butler County as pertaining unto their quote-unquote war on drugs. Just a few weeks ago, a young man, maybe perhaps 22 years old, was caught selling an ounce of marijuana. He was arraigned and put in jail on $25,000 bail. In the same paper, another guy was pulled over with 2 grams of heroin. They let him go and give him ROR. Now, this same young girl that I know, the first time she got in trouble, she was found with a dead man naked in a bed with syringes on her and several empty stamp bags. They told her to go home, they'll send her a citation in the mail. Now I ask you something, this is all documented. If I am found with Sheriff Mike Sloop, him dead in a bed, with me having syringes in my pocket and empty stamp bags, do you think the cops would say to me what they said to that young girl who was involved in prostitution, advertising herself on Backpage? That being, go ahead home, Matt.
Doubt it very much.
The next time she turned around and had an incident with the law because she was very hooked on heroin, and when she gets out right here, she made an agreement with me, she's going to testify to all that which heroin did to her, and that she does believe now in the Bible, and that Jesus Christ is the authoritative word of God, and that there is a true evil and forms of thought or thought forms such as addiction which can enter you and become part of your nature, and you will be bound thereby. It is satanic. Today she agrees with that. But the second time she turns around and has an issue with her heroin, she's found overdosed in the Tilly's in the bathroom. So they turn around and they drag her out of there, and she's so whacked out on heroin, staggering about. She grabs some pop and starts drinking it, and then almost falls down and sits down drinking a pop. Cops come, they charge her with retail theft, possession of drug paraphernalia, including empty stamp bags, and then they ROR her. The third time, this is all in 1 month, all documented, she's found running from an overdose in the woods. What do you think they did with this girl? They ROR'd her.
What's that mean?
Released her on her own cognizance, no bail or nothing. They're like, oh, this girl's whacked out of her mind on heroin, found with dead bodies, overdosed in the bathroom, found with another overdose in the woods. But we would rather concentrate on this young man who sold an ounce of pot and let her go. Does anybody see anything twisted with what's going on inside that courthouse? But it gets even worse. One thing that you did say is people have to turn around and have courage to stand up to what's occurring in this country, because if they don't, no one will. An interesting thing in the Bible, it says, you know, one of the people that end up in the lake of fire are cowards. And as I was sitting there listening to you, my thought went to a book I once read, which originally was called My Struggle Against Stupidity, Treason, and Cowardice. And when I saw that title, hey, that sounds like me. I'm surrounded by stupid people, a treasonous world system, and a bunch of cowards that are afraid to make a stand and do something about it. But that guy who wrote that book actually became a very well-known world leader. His name was Adolf Hitler. They shortened it to My Struggle. But Germany at that time, if you study into this, was in the same economic condition after the Versailles Treaty as America. And across America right now, people are fed up and tired. And I'm telling you, they're looking for a third alternative to the incumbents, which we've all come to the conclusion. They're playing tennis here with us, ping pong, whatever you want to say, passing back and forth. It's the same people controlling the same system. And once again, you're not going to convince me that the literal tons of heroin that are used every month in every major city is being snuck in by donkeys across the border. There's a reason our soldiers are over in Afghanistan protecting those poppy fields, which are poisoning this nation's youth to bring them under the power of a government. And those who aren't doing the heroin, as with this girl, they're prescribing such antipsychotics as that, with all that right there, including causing brain damage, and here's the best part, makes them apathetic and not care about anything. Now, if that drug was already taken in criminal liability for $2.2 billion by the Department of Justice, and states, look it up, all across the country are suing them for hundreds of millions of dollars of damage that they've done to brains and bodies, why is the Butler County Prison passing that out as a sleep medication to young girls recovering from heroin addiction? And she's not the only one, I'm told. Her Sally is suffering the same problems with her breasts enlarged, burning like fire, and having to milk herself every night before she goes to sleep, including having difficulty with her bladder and urinate. And you look it up, these are all the symptoms of this drug, which has already been found to be criminalized by the Department of Justice. But what I see occurring here is this system is so corrupt, and I still say it's the Masonic mob. They're like the little tentacles of the Agenda 21 in this New World Order. They're the ones controlling the courts. But since they're not passing it out on the streets because the public's aware of it, now they're trying to slip it through and sell it off through Medicare and Medicaid, what people are being taxed with on the inmates in prison seeking relief from having anxiety or being unable to sleep. When they're prescribing stuff like that to young girls that damages them that bad, and they look you in the face and say, what you going to do about it? Sheriff Mike Sloop and his honor guard protect us. I called Mike Sloop, since he's chairman of the board right there, after getting into it with the commissioners over what was done to her. And he says, oh, thanks for turning me on to that knowledge, man. I'm gonna look into this. What happened? That girl, right after she agreed to give me power of attorney to get her medical records and look into how much they were giving her and stuff, was immediately charged with disrupting criminal or prison routine by, after the first time she gave a piss test, right in front of them, her body temperature was 5 degrees lower than what it's supposed to be. Remember, they're the ones that gave her this drug. So they say, we don't want this, we want another test. And they came back in an hour, she said, I can't pee right now. And they said, well, you're going into lockdown. They locked her down for about 12 hours. She came out, she said she can pee. They said it's too late. 60 days in the hole, so that, and here it gets even better than this. After that was done, I was like, you know what? For two $2,500 bails, it's going to cost me $380. I'm bailing that girl out and getting her to a physician. I want to know what's going on with that girl, because she's telling me all the other girls, they're giving it to them, and they're suffering the same things. This is insane. And then Sloop, who's supposed to honor the Constitution, and you're chairman of this? What are you doing, chairman of a privatized prison industry? That's my last question for you, Sloop. And you're supposed to be representing the sheriffs of the state of Pennsylvania. I got so much I'm going to be pointing out against you people. And I got another question for you, Mike Sloop. You're supposed to be chief law enforcement officer of this county, ensuring constitutionally that the executive branch maintains its integrity. Why is it that an individual can get pulled over driving, 8 times DUI suspended, and if he pays Mike Zunder $15,000, every one of them is dropped except for 2 to driving without a license? Why is it that a pedophile who was registered in California for, from what I understand, molesting and taking pictures of a 3-year-old girl, comes to this state, is arrested by the state police for failing to register, but when his mother, who's a widow and collected a lot of money, hires Mike Zunder, all of a sudden, the DA withdraws all charges. How do you withdraw charges for failing to register? I think those are some questions that the people need answered. The people haven't perhaps had a leader that's willing to look you in the eye and address you, but that time has come, and God is going to raise people up across this country with His Spirit inside them. They ain't even going to have to think about what to say. It's going to flow out of them like a river, and it's going to be facing straight at you. You people of corruption, you're going to answer for this one day before God. And all you people who go to church who vote for this, let me tell you something. There ain't going to be a Democrat that ain't going to stand before God and he's going to say, why did you support homosexuality? You tell me you're my disciple. You're supposed to be, I'm supposed to say, well done, good and faithful servant. There's no such thing as anybody, this comes straight from God, that votes Democrat that belongs in his church. Get out of the church. You want to support sodomy, you want to support Islam, get out of the church of Jesus Christ. God don't need you and he don't want you. That's a message from God. But I will say this much. When Lauren comes out, I think there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up and out of here. And I'm calling all the people right now that we're going to be seeing this. It's time to create a third political party. You convicted felons out there, 1 out of 10 of us are a felon. For what? Ever read the Bill of Rights? The Second Amendment is a declaratory and restrictive clause, meaning it cannot be taken away from you. Suspended, perhaps, while you're in prison and on parole, but once you're done with that right there, you deserve your right. It is your right, not your privilege that can be revoked, to be able to protect you and your family, especially with the way society is crumbling all around us with a corrupt government importing narcotics to turn an entire generation into a bunch of wild animals that have no moral conscience. The time has come, people. The flag is being raised. Choose whom you serve. It's time to stand up politically and spiritually for the truth. For even as Hitler said in his book Mein Kampf, you cannot separate a nation's spiritual values from its political actions. And with that I close, and there's going to be more to come on the courthouse steps, where I'm going to show all you people across the United States of America who want to create something in their own county how to go about doing it, because I'm going to do it in front of your face and in front of theirs with my finger in their eye. And with that, I bid you all a good night. And I pray that God turns around and permits what I have said to sink into your soul.
All right.